Good morning, everyone. Before we start our class this morning, let's have a little prayer. Dear God, our Father in heaven, come to you giving thanks for this day and all the wonderful blessings you've given us. Thank you that we have the opportunity to assemble here today to study your word and to praise you and worship. May everything we say and do be in accordance with your will. We know that we have people that are dealing with physical problems, whether they be illnesses, whether it be wars that are going on through the earth, whether it be oppression, whatever it be, we know that with you we can make it through these things. We also have those this morning who need to make themselves right with you. Help them to have a tender heart where they will see the error of their way and make themselves right. Go with us on through this study, on through our service today, and on through our lives. In Christ's name we ask all things. Amen. Okay, we're starting chapter 6. We're seeing 6 of the 7 seals that we talked about in chapter 5 are being opened today, and we're going to look at those and see what we can come up with. Who would like to read the first 6 verses of chapter 6, please? Jason.
Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. He went out conquering and to conquer. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand, and I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, "Pour of wheat for denarius, 3 quarts of barley for denarius. Do not harm the oil and wine."
You would like to read chapters, or verse 7 through the end of the chapter, please. Thank you, Kim.
And when he broke the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, Come. And I looked, and behold, an ashen horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death, and Hades was following with him. And authority was given to him over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by the wild beasts of the earth. And when he broke the fifth seal, I saw underneath the altar, the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God, and because of the testimony which they had maintained. And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, wilt thou refrain from judging and avenging our blood on those who dwell on the earth? And there was given to each of them a white robe, and they were told that they should rest for a little while longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren were to be killed, even as they had been, should be completed also. And I looked when he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood. And the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as a fig tree casts its unripe figs when shaken by a great wind. And the sky was split apart like a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the commanders, and the rich and strong, and every slave and free man, hid themselves in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they said to the mountains and to the rocks, Fall on us and hide us from the presence of him who sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand?
Thank you. This is an interesting chapter, and there's a lot of discussion. Different people will come up with different things, and the author of this book, he looks at the first four seals, and when he does that, he reveals the four horses and their riders. And like I said, you'll see many different things here. This author, which I think does a good job with these, he has the white horse as rider, as military conquest, red horse as rider, civil war, black horse as rider, famine, and pale horse as rider is death. Now, if you look at sheet number 2 that I put out, you'll see that under the white horse here, that Haley, Wallace, Mark Ryder, and Duggan, they all seem to think it's Christ. The other ones, they talk about it being a military conquest or something like that. After my study, I think the military conquest makes better sense here. When you start in verse 1, who's opening the seals? It's Christ. He's opening the seals, and then he has these things coming out. Looked at Barnes' notes when I looked at it, and I think he had a good point here. If you look at this, this is a kind of a progression. If we're talking about Rome, Rome comes in, they have a military conquest, and they come in, things are pretty good. Then we have the internal thing, your civil war. Then things get tough. up, they have a famine, and then finally, they start killing people. It fits perfectly for things that happen in Rome. Now, like I said, and that's something that you're gonna have to make your own decision on, but for me, that seems to make make a good, seems to read through there pretty good. Then there's two other seals, the fifth and the sixth seal that will be open. They're loosed in this chapter. Uh, Fifth seal, he says, means we'll find, we're told by God will bring such judgment. And the sixth seal will be cosmic disturbances, whether that's, storms, whatever, all kinds of things. And, that's something we're going to have to decide on our own what these things are. Like I said, that's what this author has come up with. Other authors will do things different. And the points to ponder he has here are the meanings of the four horses and the riders, and the reason for the judgment and wrath described in this chapter. Like I said, to me, the Roman Empire fits perfectly in things that are happening here. It's not talking about the end of time, because you get to the end of the chapter, part of it that Kim read. People are hiding among the rocks in the mountains. At the end of time, there's not going to be hiding. It's having a choice there. So this is an event, and I think that the things that happen in Rome, in the Roman Empire, make sense on this. Any comments or questions right now? Yes, Dave.
I guess I'm looking at it different, I'm looking at it like this is John saying or telling us what's going to happen. So I'm having a hard time understanding. I understand that the Lamb opened the seals, but if the Lamb opened the seals, that was Christ, and I understand that. But we're talking about maybe the future here, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And when they put a crown on him, I think in verse 2, a crown was given to him. That sounds like to me that would be Christ. A crown was given to him.
And there's a lot of people that believe that. A lot of people that studied it a whole lot, and there are people that don't. And that's something we have to decide. Joe, you got.
Well, going back to the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about different translations, treating pronouns of deity differently. In verse 2, all of the pronouns are in lowercase in the translations I have. Typically, they're not. If it's referring to Jesus or God, they are capital.
That's at least that's what most men have made the decision that is.
Yes.
Yes.
But whenever you go into chapter 19, verse 11, it speaks and it says, I saw heaven open and behold a white horse, and he who sat on it is called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he judges and wages war. In that one, they are referring to Jesus because it is capitalized. And I don't know if these are the same or if we haven't gotten that far. So we might discuss this again later.
Yeah, I think I'm on chapter 15, so I still haven't got to that. But throughout the Bible, the white, that's one of the colors and everything. And I think that a lot of places that probably refers to Christ. But like I said, you've got a split in the authors whether it's talking about Christ or not. And, we'll discuss that a little bit more as we go into the questions, but, you know, that's something that makes it harder for us. As Diane and I were talking before class, the people back here, they had a whole lot better idea of what all these things mean than probably we did. Judy?
Charlie, would you mind if I read what Ken said about this chapter?
That'd be fine.
It's necessary, if we are to fully appreciate the lessons that are presented herein, to understand the history. During the last 4 decades of John's life, he lived through a series of tragic events. There were earthquakes of AD 60, the burning of Rome, followed by persecution of Christians in AD 64, the war between Jews and Rome from AD 65 to 70, ending with Jerusalem in ruins, Nero's suicide in AD 68 and the subsequent violent deaths of 3 successors to the imperial throne within 18 months. The eruption of Vesuvius in AD 79, which obliterated the Bay of Naples and created a pale darkness so widespread that men feared the imminent dissolution of the physical order, and the serious grain famine of AD 92. Such grain events should challenge the faith of many in the sovereignty of Christ. The purpose of this vision was to assert his kingship in such a world as that.
And those are things that happen
In John-
soon
Yeah.
that they could relate to. But that's a, like I said, there's lots and lots of different opinions on this. The more that I study, like I say, I could be wrong. I think all of this is things that are happening right there, you know, within 50 or 100 years, you know, what those people could see. Comments? Yes, Terry.
Verse 1 is mine reason. I saw when the Lamb broke one of the 7 seals. Mine L on the Lamb is capitalized. I'm
Yes.
thinking that means Jesus.
I think so.
But I'm not so sure about maybe the latter, chapter 2, verse 2 may be kind of like telling him what he is, what he can do, other than actually referring him personally. I don't know why that would be capitalized. But I think it's Jesus involved in all that.
Jesus is the one that had the scroll, that had the seals on it. No, he's the one that's holding the seals. So, he is, and, you know, and I knew that we would, as we came through the year, we're going to have some disagreements on some of these things. But we just still have to always remember the big picture here. You know, we're going to be, we're going to have various persecutions through our lives. If we're faithful, we can have a home in heaven with God in Christ. And that's the same thing that these people are being taught. And like I said, they're going to have problems, you know, whether we agree with all these things. I think Kenny Green and the thing that Judy read had a good explanation for that. And we'll roll some others as we go through our questions, but I think we can learn from these things.
I think the paragraphs probably above those explanations of the white horse, red horse, black horse, yellow horse, that kind of my understanding of it a little bit, that Jesus gave the power, visit their mess. That line, or sentence that said, seems clear the answer is Christ, that he opened this goes, he gave him power, I don't know that the white horse
I mean, it talks, I guess it's, I don't know exactly how it related, it says, I saw at night, behold, a man was riding on a red horse, and he was standing among the myrtle tree, and there was a ravine with red sorrel and white horses behind him. And I said, my Lord, what are these? And the angel who was speaking with me said, I will show you what these are. And the man who was standing among the myrtle trees answered, these are those who the Lord sent out to patrol the earth. So they answered, the angel of the Lord was among them. We are patrolling the earth, and behold, all the earth is peaceful and quiet. So, you know, is this for, you know, are they the same horse, you know, the same people on horses? You know, who knows?
I don't know, you know, the symbol of a horse with rider, you know, that's not new to Revelation. You know, we'll look back, we'll see some other things. The first time that I saw that was in Exodus 2nd chapter, 15th chapter. Verse 2. In verse 1, where this is where Moses and the old man crossing the Red Sea. It's talking about the Egyptians coming after them. Starting in verse 1 in Exodus 15. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to the Lord, saying, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. And we know that this doesn't represent a horse and its rider. This horse and the rider are the ones that were coming after the children of Israel, and you know that they're being delivered right here. So I said that's the first time that I saw it. Kim mentioned one in Zechariah. We've got some here, so that this is not something that is new to them when you're talking about horses and riders. Let's start with Judy this morning. Question 1.
What are the main points of this chapter? And I have, what is behind the 6 seals that are open, and who had the power to open them?
Okay. There's 6 seals, and the lamb. He came up with different ones. That's I think Judy's are good also. We look through here. What are the points? We've got these 6 seals we're looking at, and we see the power that God has and Christ has over these things. Nisha, number 2.
Who owns each of the seals in this chapter? The Lamb of Christ.
The Lamb, Christ Jesus, that's right. That's who owns them. So we see that the power that Jesus had. John is still looking at this, and Terry's asked the question, and I don't know, is he in a trance? Is he actually seeing this? I don't know. But this is what has been given to us. Okay, Lance, number 3.
What is seen when the first seal is opened, the white horse? And what was given to him, crown?
Okay. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Exodus 15:2, 15:1, where we start seeing about the horses. The crown, and I mentioned Ex some of our reference books. One of them that is brought up by some of the authors is the English historian Edward Gibbon. Edward Gibbon wrote the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. And he wrote it in 1776. What happened in 1776? No historians here? The Revolutionary War, Declaration of Independence, but he wrote that long ago. I've got a copy, and mine's, my first volume is the only one that's in real bad shape. There's six volumes now. It's not the original one, but this one was written in this volume was written in 1862. This was printed in 1862. Do you remember what happened about that time? The Civil War. So, this book has been around since the Civil War. The person who originally bought the book the first person who put his name in here was in January 1868. So, as you can see, it's a little tender. Other ones aren't as bad. But what he mentions is why he's saying that the rider with the bow is the white horse in his history. I'll read the first one.
Does anyone speculate on who the riders are?
I think it's wrong. That's what I think it is. Different times of wrong. He starts his history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. In the 2nd century of the Christian era, the Empire of Rome comprehended the fairest part of comprised the fairest part of the earth and the most civilized portion of mankind. The frontiers of the extensive monetary were guarded by ancient renown, discipline, and valor. So he's saying that it makes, and Barnes Wolfsfield saying that it makes sense that these are all, these first 4 seals, the horses, are different times during the Roman Empire. Like I said, we can have differences of opinion on that, and that's okay. But there's going to be a certain thing you will look at, and we'll come up with, hopefully we'll come up with the same answer. Image number 4.
What have you seen when the 2nd seal broke? John sees that far red horse and his driver, and what was given to him, great sword was given to him.
Okay, great story, yeah. Okay, and the author of the book that we're using, he seems to think is talking about a civil war that's happening in Rome. Okay, on to number 5.
What is seen when the 3rd seal was opened, what is heard? A black horse, and he heard a voice
course escapes. And, he's talking about, the price of wheat, barley, things like that. If you go back to 2 Kings, this is a time when there's people are being fought against their town. They're being besieged. They can't do anything. And Ben-Hadad has a siege on Samaria. And in chapter 6, starting verse 24, after Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, mustered his entire army and went up against Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria, as they besieged it, till a donkey's head was sold for 80 shekels of silver, a fourth part of a cab, dove's dung for 5 shekels of silver. If you read it a little later, in verse 29, you see that a woman comes in there. She's mad because her and somebody else decided they were starving, and we will boil my son tonight for supper, and tomorrow we'll do yours, and the other one will renege on it. So, this is bad, but if you see, things happen, and God tells them that things are going to happen, and that the famine's going to be over, and it was over almost immediately. This famine was because of the military siege, they couldn't get any food in. But in chapter 7, starting verse 1, but Elisha said, hear the word of the Lord, thus says the Lord, tomorrow about this time, a selah of fine flour shall be sold for a shekel, 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria. And you see that they transpire that this happens. Well, what I was getting at on this is a famine type thing that when they're talking about the price of barley and the price of wheat. I think I did my conversions from talking about some of them is in Roman courts and all those are different than other things. But when I went through the calculations and everything, the price of food that they were selling there is about 4 times what it would have been in a regular time. And, we've all lived long enough, even in the last few years, we've seen, things go from a regional price to a more expensive price, kind of cyclic times. This is the first time it's happened in our lifetime. If you live long enough, it will be the last time. But, these people were paying a premium for food. And so they, it was tough. And especially if you were a Christian and being oppressed, things would be tough. With the government that they were doing, they were, there was a problem there. The author of the book says that it represents famine, where necessity can be scarce while luxuries might be in abundance, with little interest to the hungry. God has used famine in his judgment upon Israel. Throughout the history, famine has been a problem. This is things that happen here. Any comments, questions? Jason?
I've read before, why is water valuable than diamonds. Why is a cup of water more valuable than a cup of diamonds? Because water is more useful. And it had to do with the abundance of water that we have. Sort of the same thing here, you know, the necessities versus the luxuries. At some point, when the necessities are scarce enough, they become more expensive than luxuries because they're more valuable in that time.
Charlie?
Yes,
My study Bible says that a denarius at this time was about a day's wage.
yeah. Yeah, so that makes it, you know, if you're paying a day's wage for 3 quarts of barley and, you know, a quart of wheat, you're trying to take care of your family, you're using everything you got and more just to feed them. Joe, number 6.
What is seen when the fourth seal is opened and what was given to them? An ashen horse and an authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with sword, famine of the earth, and pestilence and by wild beasts of the field.
Okay. This doesn't say the fourth of the earth is killed. But there was a power there that, if you're talking about Rome, they had the power where they could do things like this. You know, they had, if you see a progression as they're falling, declining, you know, now to where, you know, we have the power of the earth, over a fourth of the earth, we can kill with the sword, we can make you be hungry, we can do all these things. That's something that what did Ken say in his thing, Judy, when you read that, about having the power of the fourth?
He didn't say anything about it.
Oh, he did?
But I looked in the room back there this morning without Sir, and he said that it was not an actual number, that it just means the powers limited,
Okay.
the government powers.
You know, the government, you know, they have power that, you know, we look at great governments today, and even not so great governments. You know, governments over the people that they have the power over, they can wield a whole lot of power and do a whole lot of things. Whether it's a small place like North Korea, a big place like China, Russia, the United States. You know, the government has a lot of power. And when they misuse power, they can do stuff like this. Karen?
Could there be a description as to how big the Roman Empire was back in those days with what countries we knew, what area that we know of?
It could be, Karen, I don't know, you know,
The term fourth of the earth, it could be, not everything, it could be that region. Or what.
that they control, that they had, you know,
They were big.
back earlier, you know, we had drawn a circle, you know, they covered a whole bunch of the area that we know. You know, there was other areas that they didn't have control over, but yes, that can very well be what's talking about that. Let's see. Katie, number 7.
What is seen when the fifth seal is opened, and what are they saying? He sees under the altar the souls of those who have been slain for the word of God and the witness they have borne. And they cry out with a loud voice, "O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you will judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth?"
Okay, this appears to me that we've taken a little step different things. First, when we're talking about Rome, now we're talking about the people that, talks about the ones that have been slain, the ones that have been persecuted for and they're saying, how long, O Lord, till you judge and avenge our blood? These are people that it appears to have died for because of the things that happened. Nathan, number 8.
How are they consoled? They were given a white robe, and they were told to rest a little while longer until both their fellow servants and brethren would be killed like they were.
Okay. So, they were told, you're not the only ones that's going to be there. You rest a little longer, and you will you'll finally be over. This is hard to comprehend. We look at things like this. This appears to be in paradise. Just reading it myself, I may be reading it completely wrong, but that's what it looks like. Joe, did I skip you on questions?
No.
You did? Okay. Okay, Jason, number 9.
What is seen in the sixth seal is completed of natural disasters, great earthquake, sun turned black, moon turned red, stars fell out of the sky. The sky receded like a scroll, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Did any of your commentaries have anything about the sky receding like a scroll being end times?
I looked at this. I don't think this is talking about the time. I don't understand what's talking about. Did anybody come up with anything?
To me, those disasters that were mentioned, like the great earthquakes.
That Ken mentioned in there.
Yeah, and
That
the
they-
sky was black with smoke when the Vesuvius erupted. That kind of ties it into me.
But a few years ago, when we were out west, they were having all the wildfires in California, Oregon, Washington, stuff like that. When we were out west, the sky, I'm sure it wasn't dark like this, but we were many, many miles and hours away from these things to happen. But you could see, the sky was dark all the time. Like there was even in the middle of the day, just like there was a cloud, things were not like they should. If you had an earthquake, spews all kinds of lava and all of the rocks and whatever they fell into the sky, you could see how this would, the darkness like that.
So bad. Eclipse also.
Okay.
Dark as the sun. And the cloud over the moon. I mean, we do have, there is times when their moon is red. Now, I mean, not like bright red, but it does turn colors during the year.
Yeah.
Meteor shower could be the stars falling from the heavens. The mountain's moving. That'd be a volcano.
Could be, like I said, these are things that we have a little trouble comprehending on these things.
I read this someplace that the stars and the mountain, they have a place, stars one, could indicate, a lot of powers that were are no longer. They've fallen.
Could be. Okay, we're just out of time. We will start question 10, Wednesday night, and we'll go into the next chapter. I thank you all so much for your comments and everything. It helped make the class more enjoyable for me. Thank you.
We got one left. Let's do 3 lessons. All right. Yes, lesson 2. All Yeah. Here you go.